Wagwan people, what you saying? It is I, Diligent Fingers, and welcome to another episode of the Viewpoint Podcast, episode 6. First off, thank you for joining me again. Thank you for listening. If you've listened to the previous 5 episodes, thank you very much for getting involved in the conversation. If you're listening to or watching it on YouTube, thank you for getting involved there as well. I do apologise for like the sort of stagnant nature, sort of checkered nature of like the uploads of these podcasts. But as time goes on, and I will improve the quality of these podcasts. Hopefully, I can get it down to video format as well, and that because I feel like it's a lot better when you can sort of see body language and stuff like that when talking about, having these conversations, and that. Also, I know with the last podcast episode, I'm going to have to do a part 2. That one was talking about toxic masculinity and the hypocrisy of men. I know I'm going to have to do a part 2 because there was a lot of things in there that I thought I covered, but I didn't actually cover. And it ended up just turning into more of a rant than an actual, conversation, really and truly. I know I probably will have ruffled a few feathers with that podcast episode. So there will be a part 2 to toxic masculinity and the hypocrisy of men. I know I'm gonna need to do that and stuff, really. So yeah, that will be coming soon. I'm gonna try and get these out, say like 2 a month, if I can. Basically, so like the second and the fourth week of the month, there'll be a podcast episode. I'm gonna try and keep up with that, that kind of schedule. If possible, but as time goes on, like I said, the quality will improve, the regularity will improve. But with all of that going on, I really do appreciate everybody who's hanging in there with me, and really, enjoying these podcasts. And if there's anything that you get from it, do you know what I mean? Whether it's good or bad, hopefully good, But if it does start a conversation, if it does start dialogue, then, that's the goal at least. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do or anything like that, even though sometimes it may come across that way. It's just to start the conversation because I can learn as much from you guys as you may learn from me. Do you know what I mean? And stuff. So, yeah, man. But yeah, let's get into, episode 6. And, the topic I wanted to talk about with this episode is the true value of trust within relationships. It's something that I've been dealing with over the years of my life. It's something that ends up, rearing its ugly head as, a lot of negative, really, because there's been a lot of times where the trust has been broken, and it is hard to regain that trust, either with yourself or either with the people that, have broken that trust. There is the famous saying that, you may forgive, but you never forget. Especially when it's big things, especially when it's traumatic things, you certainly may forgive, but you most definitely do not forget, But the reason why I wanted to talk about trust, especially when it comes into relationships, whether it's, friendships, whether it's with family or whether it's, with love interests, with partners, it's something that, is really important to everybody. It is significantly important to everybody, but it's something that's not really talked about. It's almost as if there's an unwritten rule with trust. Like everyone knows what trust is and what it should represent. So it's almost as if it doesn't need talking about, and that really. But with trust, comes, the cons of trust, the moments of unknowing, really, and you just have to put your faith in somebody that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. There's the unconscious biases that you develop with friends, family, with love interests. There's the turning of, there's the turning of the blind eye. There's so many elements that go into trust that is hardly ever talked about, or hardly ever really sort of delved into until it's too late, really. Until it's absolutely too late. I remember watching a video on YouTube talking about relationships and like the beginning of relationships, and the fact that really it's hardly ever talked about in terms of like what the boundaries are in relationships, what are the limitations, what are the restrictions. It's hardly ever talked about like what are the end goals, what are the wants and desires that people are looking for within relationships. It's just sort of, you just jump in and then you kind of just playing a game to see if you can figure out that other person, and if the other person plays the game well enough, then you feel like you're developing elements of trust, but really, you just sort of getting comfortable with a person in a relationship, or with a person within a friendship, because really and truly the truth is that you never stop learning about people. Never. You never stop learning about a person. You may think you know every single thing that there is to know about a person, but the truth is you just don't. We don't. We can spend as many years or decades with a person, but until the shit hits the fan, in many ways, that's when you don't like, you are still, until the shit hits the fan, which it can do in many ways, you are still just learning about the person, because when the shit hits the fan, that's when you really see the truth about people. And sometimes even then, that truth can only be for that moment. Hindsight comes into play, a lesson may be learned, do you know what I mean? And then, if that situation comes up again, maybe the actions will change. And that. I'll say I've come across a lot of these situations, and each of these situations where the trust has been broken, it has hit me hard, because it's always the people that are closest to you. Do you know what I mean? When they break your trust, when they break that element of trust, it always hurts more. You don't care when it's someone that you don't know. Do you know what I mean? You have no reason to fully trust them or feel like you fully trust them. You don't know that person, so you become particularly wary. You're guarded. You're a bit standoffish, depending on the personality of the new person that you're getting to know. You know what I mean? But it always hurts more when it's close friends, when it's family, when it's loved ones. It always hurts so much more. And I've spent a lot of years sort of exploring that kind of avenue. Do you know what I mean? Which has ended up leading to the choices that I make in the person that I am now. Especially when it comes to friendships. Like, when I look back in terms of my life and all the people that I know, and then within that the true friendships that I actually have, it's not really many. And a lot of them, they're not really based on always keeping in touch, always spending a lot of time with each other. Growing up and through my life, as each time that trust is broken, the more closed off I become. And then it didn't help that being a producer, being a musician, which requires that you're at home, in front of a computer making music to sort of build up your profile and all that kind of good stuff. That further sort of breeds isolation, that further breeds, sort of being on your own, and, not really needing to be around people all the time to be able to enjoy yourself and that. So it was over the years, sorry, especially moving about a lot. I moved around a whole lot, over the years, and that there was a time where, I'd moved something stupid like 3 or 4 times in the space of like 2 years or something like that. So I only like stayed in one place for like 6 months for a period, and then after that it was only like 2-3 years I would be in a place, um, you know, at most, and then I'd have to move somewhere else, like to either a completely different part of the area or a completely different area altogether. So over the years, I have a lot of acquaintances, but I wouldn't say I have a lot of close friends. There's like a running joke that I have with myself, especially being a musician. Over the years I've had to change my name a couple of times because it's been the same, my artist name a couple of times because it's been the same name as somebody else. And because of that, depending on what someone calls me when they see me, if I've not seen them for ages, lets me know which part of my life they know me from. And that, so it's funny, like, and if like some of you know my first nicknames and stuff like that, then you've known me for a long time and that. But what I started to realize is, okay, I've got those people, but because they've known of me for a long time, doesn't mean they actually know me. They've known me for that same period of time as well. I suppose these are realizations that I'm coming to now because I'm realizing that I'm spending a lot of time on my own, and I'm choosing to do so. And I'm questioning really whether that is a good thing for me or not, because it's starting to affect a lot of things, that I won't go into right now, but there'll be probably, you know, future podcast episodes. But with me reflecting on all of these things, the thing that I particularly came back down to was trust. It's easy for me, or over the years, it's become incredibly easy for me to be able to just cut people off. Really, like, ridiculously easy for me to just cut people off. Especially now. Now it's like one strike and you're out. That's it. And the reason for that is trust. Nowadays, if you give me any indication that I can't trust you, not depend on you, like, not rely on you, if I can't trust you to just be the person that you are presenting to me that you are, one strike and you're out. That's it. Because I'm fine being on my own. A lot of that is being in control of my own environment. So if I'm on my own, I'm in control, and if something goes wrong, it's down to me why that situation has gone wrong, not down to anybody else. Which has its pros, and I'm starting to realise various cons. Whether they're really big cons or not, that remains to be seen. But because of that spells out to me that trust is such a tender thing. It's such an important part of my life that it can't be joked with. It cannot be trifled with at all. So then it makes me think back throughout my life, why has it gotten to this stage? Why has it gotten to this stage where, when it comes to trust, you could say I'm really impatient when it comes to trust. it's almost like I'm looking for you to I'm looking for you to fuck up, so then I can make a judgment on you going forward. In that, because when big things happen, like I remember growing up, I remember the first time it started happening, it would be within relationships, cheating and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And then me being cheated on, and me realizing, the extent of the impact of being cheated on and having that trust broken, like being at a point where you completely believe in somebody to the point of some things you just can't see them doing at all. Some things you just can't see happening to you by some of the people that are closest to you. And there's been a fair few times where that has happened. And that, like I said in the last episode, being with a girl and, not knowing whether she cheated on me with a friend of mine that she was working with at an ex-employer's place where I was working. Going through that sort of, is it she, the panic of not knowing what's true or not. And that was so excruciating at the time. I like that word, excruciating. I'll use that for certain feelings. It was so excruciating at the time, where it was like, what do I do? Like, everything is just turned upside down. Like, you do get to that point of thinking, who is this person? Do I even know you? Is anything you've told me actually the truth? Especially in like relationships and friendships. When someone crosses you, do you know what I mean, to the point where you don't know about this person anymore, it completely changes the dynamics of how you are with that person. I've fallen out with people, we've gotten into arguments, we've not agreed on stuff, do you know what I mean? But it's never led me to the point of not trusting them, or it never used to lead me to the point of not trusting them. We just didn't agree on certain things at that time, as an example. But then, like, say when someone steals from you, or like, say when someone...
Low battery.
Well, like, say, like, when someone, lies about a situation that they were in, when someone bucks up with someone who is your enemy. You see one of your friends is talking to someone that you don't like, you've got problems with, especially early on growing up, that used to be a really big thing. Now I don't care as much. If that's how it is, that's how it is. I'll just know, okay, there's certain things that I can't talk about, there's certain ways that I can't move around this person because they're in communication with somebody that I don't like. But then again, that further pushes me to just spending so much more time on my own. So then I'm just not around people for them to be able to say anything about me to anybody else. The unconscious biases, like a lot of time where I feel like my trust has been broken, partly has been my own fault for holding unconscious biases towards people. I used to have a lot of friends where I knew they'd done something fucked up to another friend of mine, but because they hadn't done it to me, then I didn't have a problem with them. And that's why I don't really have a problem with friends being friends with other people that I don't like now, because that was the excuse that I used to have, because I tried to treat people as individuals and that. So it's cool, okay, someone has said this, that and the other about you. At first I'd be like, alright, cool, Yeah, like I don't know the full information. There's always two sides to a story. So I'm not gonna take that on wholly. Well, he's not done anything to me. She's not done anything to me. So I've not got a problem with them, and that. And then they do something to you, and you remember what you said, and it's like rah. But these people told me, But I decided not to trust them. I decided to trust my brethren just because they hadn't done anything to me. But then you realise if they can do something bad to a person in general, then they can do it to you. That's one of the things that you start to realise about people, you know. Never expect anyone to never do something to you that they've done to somebody else. If they can cheat on them, they can cheat on you. If they can steal from them, then they can steal from you. If they can lie to them, then they can lie to you. And that's why I always talk about being real with yourself. Because if you're real with yourself, then it is not a problem. It's just not hard to be real with other people. But it's not. It is easy to develop these unconscious biases around the people that are closest to you, That's how you develop trust, to an extent, I may be wrong in saying that, but I think that is how you develop trust to an extent. You know about things, but you give people the benefit of the doubt that they wouldn't dare do any bad-mindedness to you. Sometimes time has a factor in that. Sometimes just being able to get on with the person has a factor in that as well. This person makes me smile. Do you know what I mean? When I'm around them, they make me smile. They make me laugh. We have a good time. So yeah, man, it's chill, man. Like, I don't know what your problem is, but I haven't got a problem with them because when they're with me, it's all good. You know what I mean? When it comes to relationships, though, it's like everything is more sensitive. A lot more sensitive. And so it should be, really, because when it comes to relationships, you're opening up yourself a lot more. Or at least you're opening up areas about yourself that you wouldn't normally open up to even your friends or your family. But because you want to impress, or you want to put at ease, you want to give peace of mind, or you just want to be open with this person that you're courting, you're trying to get into a relationship with, it becomes a lot more sensitive. You always hear about people in relationships talking about telling their partner things that they've never told anybody else and never would tell anyone else. I feel like when it comes to relationships, for some reason, the bar for being able to meet trust in the beginning, in the honeymoon period, is so much more lower than, when it comes to friendships. In that, when it comes to relationships, the time it takes to be able to build up a real friendship with somebody, it's like it should be half that time. When it's somebody that, you want to fall in love with, someone that you want to open up your body to, what I mean? If we're talking about women, someone that you want to open up your heart to, it's like the barrier, the criteria for being able to build up trust and the time scale is so much shorter within relationships than it is within friendships. And a lot of time, it could be down to just loneliness in general. In a lot of time it can be down to just wanting that emotional rock that over time you feel like you can't come to your friends for. you know, and that in terms of like what's going on with me mentally, you know, as much as I trust my friends to an extent, I don't fully trust them completely with everything that's going on with my mental health. And that's why I spend a lot of time on my own because of it. I've had it thrown back in my face within friendships and within relationships so many times that it's like, wow, like, you know, unless you're qualified, unless you've got some sort of doctorate, do you know what I mean? I.e., you're a doctor or a therapist or a counsellor or anything like that. I ain't really getting into the nitty gritty, you know what I mean, in terms of my mental health anymore, because I've done that and I've had it dashed back in my face, especially within relationships. Because again, once that trust is broken, and even if that trust is broken from before, like I remember being in a relationship with a girl who was just mad paranoid because she'd been cheated on so many times before. So she was waiting. She was waiting for me to cheat on her. She was waiting for me to trip up. Do you know what I mean? And that she was analysing every single thing. Do you know what I'm saying? And I remember that this relationship so much because I was fighting so hard to gain her trust. So hard to gain her trust. And to the point I'm developing conscious biases. Conscious biases. Like I know that really and truly I know that this relationship isn't going to work and shouldn't work. I know that this woman is not really good for me because of how rocky the relationship is to begin with. But I am biased towards her because I want to prove to her that she can trust me. And then within that, the more I thought I was gaining her trust, the more I started to not trust her. Because I feel like we'd get to a point where we would have an understanding. And then that understanding would be completely shattered because we would go back to the same root of the problem that we always end up going back to and arguing about and fighting about. So every time we would talk and we would get to a point where, oh, we're all good and we're having make-up sex and this, that and the other, I would get to the point where each time we made up, I'm counting down the days until we get into an argument again. I just could not trust that we were actually on a good path anymore. Every time we make up, we'd have make-up sex, this, that and the other, go for a meal, smile, take pictures, it'd just be like I would get to a point. I got to the point where it was just like, yeah, until the next time. I know you don't believe me. I know you still don't trust me. I don't trust you. The mental gymnastics that you have to deal with within all of that, you know, and that's why when it comes to a point where the trust is broken within a relationship, if my brethren come to me and talk to me about it, yo, just come out of the relationship, fam. That will always be the advice that I will give. Once that trust is broken, unless you're willing to take everything that is going to get thrown at you, especially if you're the person that has broken the trust. Especially if you are the person that has broken the trust, so you've cheated or you've done something that, you know, your partner explicitly told you to never do. You've done it. Even worse if you've lied about it and then she's found out the truth or he's found out the truth. Once you have gotten to that point, come out of the relationship, man. Come out of the relationship. Unless you're willing to put in the work to keep fighting, you have to fight to get that trust back, you know. You will have to fight to truly get that trust back. Especially if you've cheated. Especially if you have cheated. You will have to fight to get that trust back if you want to stay in that relationship. On curfew, open up your phone, give it the passwords, everything. if you want to get that trust back within and stay in that relationship. I've seen many people be able to handle that, and they flourished and had amazing relationships as a result. I've seen relationships break down in the most horrible of ways because that trust has been broken again, and he or she ain't taking that shit no more. And then that's when resentment comes to it. That's when spite comes into it. That's when bitterness comes into it to go along with the pain. So you have to be careful within a relationship when it comes to trust. It's something that I've had to be real with myself about. If I let myself into my life, if I let someone into my life now, and am I going to be able to deal with how they react to some of the revelations that they come to find about me? Because, what you see is what you get with me. How it is how it is. I am on the path to improve and change, but how it is how it is right now. Am I willing to deal with the judgment, the shattered expectations? Because when lifestyle comes into a relationship, that's a fickle thing as well. A lifestyle can alter a lifestyle change can alter a relationship significantly. And then you're really looking into, you're really trusting on your partner to stick with you, to stick this sudden lifestyle change out with you. Both of you's hoping you get back to whatever it was that you're hoping to get back to. You are really trusting your partner. I remember being in a relationship when, at first we're going on holidays, we're going out for meals, this, that, and the other. The moment I lost my job due to my health, my mental health, as well as my physical health, and the income dropped, I'm trusting that my girlfriend at the time is going to stick out with me. Trust me, let me just get through this period and then we'll get back to that point. I want to get back to that point where we can start going out for meals and going on holidays and this, that, and the other. And you're trusting, hoping. I was trusting, hoping that my partner would stick it out with me. It may be a long time before we get back to the lifestyle that we first had. Health and mental health can take a long time to get back on track. But I'm hoping and trusting that you'll stick it out with me. I didn't stick it out. And then I'm left there thinking, rah. And this is no dig at her if she listens to this podcast, if she hears about this podcast. This is no dig at her because I've heard this said bare times. More or less every relationship that I've gotten into, I've heard the words said, doesn't matter if we're in a box, as long as we're together, we'll be all right. Everyone knows that one. Everybody knows that one. Do you know what I mean? But when that actually comes to fruition, that was the first time I was in a relationship from when I went from living in a 2-bedroom flat with my partner to living in some loft converted box room. Do you know what I mean? I went from living in an actual yard to living in an actual box. And the relationship broke up at that point in time. And it was mad. It was mad being in that position. And you learn to just not trust cliches anymore. You just learn to not trust people saying things like that anymore. Because when it comes to the crunch, it's a completely different situation altogether. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean in terms of when someone's truth at that moment in time can definitely change. can definitely change. When it was said, they may have believed it with all of their heart at that moment in time when everything was good. But when things get bad, is that really your truth? Mad one. So trust in relationships can be an absolute minefield, especially if you're just not being real with each other, if you're hiding things, if you're holding things back out of fear, out of insecurity, out of, manipulation. It's an absolute minefield to be in a relationship. Again, that's why, you always have to be real with yourself. Then you can be real with the people around you. As much as I want to be in a relationship right now, I know I'm not at that point where I can trust someone to come into my life and into my environment and not disrupt that in a way that is going to end up being damaging to my mental health. Because mental health is paramount. It has to be for me, But that's just relationships. When it comes to family, that's a completely different kettle of fish altogether. Because all of those unconscious biases as well as conscious biases, you can't help but have, because of the way society shapes up family, and then the way your outlook clashes or can clash with the societal view of what family should be. I come from a dysfunctional family. Very, very dysfunctional family. I probably said it a few times, probably talked about elements of this a few times, but I come from a very, very dysfunctional family. Whether members of my family want to admit it or not, we are dysfunctional. There are, please forgive, like the bings in the background and that, like, I put don't disturb mode on and the notifications still come through, so yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I come from a very dysfunctional family. There's parts of us that just don't get on. And the reason for that is there's things that have happened, there's things that have been done that me personally, I never thought would have been done by members of my family. Never. There are decisions that have been made, choices that have been made by members of my family that I never thought would be made. And it's the same with friends. It's the same with even total strangers. But with family, when it comes down to family, it's like there's that hidden obligation of unconditional love, no matter what, there's things that you almost have to forgive, with your family that you just wouldn't tolerate for a second with an absolute stranger. Nah, man, but that's family, man. That's family, man. You only have one family. Yeah, okay, cool. But as I've said in previous podcasts, as I've said many times before, people are not perfect. Men, women, doesn't matter. Bi, gay, straight, trans, whatever, does not matter. People are not perfect, whether it's family or not, And I feel like the greatest, elements of trust have been broken by my family. There's members of my family that, why? I just don't talk to anymore at all. They are cut off because it has gotten to that stage in my life where it is ridiculously easy to cut people off. And in some cases, it is paramount to do that for the sake of my mental health. It has to be done. It's all good not seeing eye to eye with a friend. It's all good not seeing eye to eye with a stranger. You can step away from them. It's kind of harder to, because you kind of choose your friends. You can't choose your family. Your family is your family, but you choose your friends. They're the people you choose to be around. You choose to spend your time with. For whatever reason. But when it's your family, and your family breaks elements of trust, it becomes more of a challenging thing, because you're conflicting with unconditional love. You're conflicting with, oh, it's family. You can't give up on your family. You can't turn away from your family. You can tell, like, I'm so past. I'm so past that. I'm so past those obligations, those theories. They're nice theories. They're nice things to say. They're nice rules to live by. But when those things are pushed to the very brink, boy, some choices you have to make. And I will be completely honest in saying that, like, cutting certain members of my family off has led to more peace, more time to be able to focus on my life and what I want to achieve and the goals that I want to reach. And I encourage anybody who is also part of a dysfunctional family that feels like it's past the point of no return now, cut them off. If they can't hear, they'll feel. If you're not on the same path, you're just not on the same path. And it's more detrimental to fight someone to get on the same path as you when they just don't want to. There's things that has been said within my family that I never thought would be said. There's things that have been done within my family that I never thought would be done. There are members of my family that have gone to places that I never thought they would ever go to. Jail. One is spending the rest of his, functioning life in jail because of things that I never thought they would do. The betrayals, the backstabbing that can happen within families, they hurt so much more. Because these are the people that you think would know you better than anybody else in the world, because they are your family. But when that's broken, why? So where is the true value in trust then? If you never really truly know a person, you're always learning about people. Because situations change, people change, principles change, goals change. Where is the true value in trust then? Thing I truly believe is, again, just being real, just being unafraid to be yourself. Regardless of what the outcome may be, regardless of if it's beneficial or detrimental. If you can be your real self and be real and true to yourself, then it won't be a problem to be real and true to everybody else. Especially the people that you care about and that truly care about you. You come into a situation and you can explain the reasons why you do or you don't want to go further into situations. And then the people around you can understand that and not hold it against you. And you can still progress forward as friends, as family, as people. That's where the true value is. You don't have to second guess yourself. You don't have to feel like you're walking on eggshells around people. You don't have to, fear that you're going to upset anybody, because you're being real. And hopefully the people that call themselves your friends, call themselves your family, will be real enough to accept that, and you both move forward. It's a long time since I've had peace of mind outside of my own environment. A very long time. Peace of mind is valuable. Peace of mind is the truest element of trust. The peace of mind to know that this person is this person. They are who they say they are, and they do what they say that they're going to do. And if they can't, then they'll be real with you. They contact you before you having to actually contact them. With peace of mind comes understanding. You can't have peace of mind without understanding. You can't have trust, true trust, without understanding. You can't be real with yourself without understanding. To understand all the elements of yourself, your happiness, your sadness, your anger, rage, your frustration, your confusion, your love, your compassion. To be able to understand all these elements of yourself, how they benefit you, how they are, how detrimental they are to you. That's probably the most valuable thing that you can ever have. And if you meet other people that are completely true, real, secure within themselves, doesn't necessarily mean that they are happy. I'm so sure of myself now that I feel it's completely understandable and it's fine that I put over the barriers, that I move the way that I am now. As an older person reaching his 40s. Because of how sure I am of myself. Because of all of the things that I've been through. Because of all the times the elements of trust have been broken. I am so sure of myself. I am so sure of what I want for myself. I am so sure of the path that I'm going to take to be able to get myself there. And I'm so sure of the people that support me, I will bring them with me. Nobody can break that. I'm so sure of my character. I'm so sure of my personality. To the point of I can admit when I am wrong and it is not a problem. I can be humble when I'm right and it's not a problem. And I can be so thankful of all the blessings that I do get, that I will be so hot-headed when people try to mess with those blessings, when people try to disrupt the path that I am on for the life that I want to create for myself. I am such a loving person, it is unreal. But I am so shielded with that love, it is ridiculous. And yes, you will have to go through the krypton factor to be able to reach that love. But if you understand that, it shouldn't be a problem. If you're real with yourself and you're being real with me, it shouldn't be a problem to go through that krypton factor. You will be fine. You will pass with flying colours. Because we both truly understand each other. Love and trust are so valuable to us as people. When those things are broken, it can be world shattering in some cases, in a lot of cases. So don't be loose with your trust. Don't be careless. Don't be frivolous with your trust. And anybody who questions how guarded you are, anybody who questions why you carry yourself the way that you carry yourself, and they don't want to take the time to be able to build up that trust that they want from you so you can have your peace of mind in them, they're not worth it. They're not worth your time. They're not worth your trust. They're not worth your love. And there shouldn't be a problem in saying that. There should never be a problem in moving that way. Everyone, there's so many people moving with all ulterior motives. I was going to say everyone, but no, that's not true. There genuinely are good people in this world. So the worst thing that you can do is to tar everybody with that brush. With the same brush. There's one thing that I want to stop doing in terms of when it comes to racism and discrimination and in terms of class. So I have to truly live that principle and not tar everybody with the same brush. But it is hard to be able to just trust everyone, and you shouldn't have to. The true value of trust is being able to just be yourself. To be able to say who you are, express yourself fully, say who you are, what you stand for, and for it to be accepted and to feel like you are accepted. After the battle of accepting yourself, I was still fighting that battle. But at least I know there's aspects of myself that I can be solid as a rock about. And that is so valuable to have. It's what's going to carry you through. It's what's going to get you to the point of fully accepting yourself. They're the first steps. It's probably some of the hardest steps that you have to, take. But they are the first steps. So yeah, man, that's what I feel the true value of trust in relationships are. Whether it's friendships, whether it's, love interests, whether it's with family. And I hope you're able to get to that point yourself as well. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. I hope you have an amazing day, week, month, year. Take it easy out there. And until next time, blessings to you all.